All right, so we are hours before the draft. I just wanted to get one final kind of putting a grab bag on all the rumors that we're hearing and just having, a brief conversation about it as we get ready to get into the draft. And make sure you guys remember to stay locked in here, subscribe and notified. I will be live for not just day one, not just day two, and not just day three, all 3 days of the draft. I will be live. I'm doing at least 4 hours each day. So I don't know if I'm going to be the whole day three. Nobody usually does the whole day three. But I will do 4 hours on day three. So about 12 to 4. We're going to be doing the entire first round and then the entire second day of the draft here. So make sure you guys go check that out. Make sure you be there for those live streams. I always enjoy interacting with you guys when I get the chance to live. All right, so let's talk about the rumors that we're hearing from the Cleveland Browns. The first rumor that has been circling around, I've heard this from a couple people who are at times reliable sources of information, that the Browns are keying in on Kaden Proctor at not necessarily at 6, but maybe there's some kind of a trade scenario. They end up taking him, but some people seem to believe that that's going to be the first guy that goes. If you look at the national consensus, I think the national consensus of people who have some bit of no in the Cleveland market tends to be Spencer Fano. So if we're looking at national versus what we're hearing more on the ground level, it feels like it's Spencer Fano versus Kaden Proctor. I don't know what to really feel about that. I don't think either of those selections would make the most sense for where Cleveland is going and what they want to do, not just this year, but in the future. Kaden Proctor, I think he's a lot of people's worst case scenario. We did the video earlier this year talking about, well, not earlier this year, last week, talking about that as a potential possibility and the downsides to that, being the case there with Kaden kind of being a athletic player who's not necessarily the most skilled, doesn't really win well with his hands, really just wins with power, not great in space. I know what people are going to jump to, and this is my concern about the Cleveland Browns not linebacker room, but offensive line room. Some offensive line coaches have this old school philosophy that I don't think works out anymore of we're going to take really big guy, make him lose weight, and then he's going to be a way better athlete. I don't think that logic scales well anymore. Kaden Proctor is not a terrible athlete at his size, but we saw his testing at the combine. He's not a high percentile athlete at his size. And the reality is that Kaden Proctor has been his size for a very long time, despite having a lot of incentives on trying to lose weight, right? Nick Saban runs a professional organization there. Caleb DeBoer runs a professional enough organization there. If he were capable of keeping off weight, he would have done it by now, because if he were this amazing athlete when he's down to 320 pounds and all he had to do was lose a few pounds when he has money from NIL coming in. He has the resources. Look, this might sound crass, but like Kaden Proctor makes enough money playing college football to get GLP-1, right? Like if he wanted to lose weight, he would have done it by now. I don't like betting on that, right? Especially in today's day and age where these athletes have money coming into the NFL, and they have professional trainers, they have nutritionists in college. Like he has everything he would have needed to lose weight that he's gonna have in the NFL, maybe even more in college. So if he didn't lose the weight then, what's gonna make you lose the weight now that you drafted him super early? And then even if he does lose the weight, I don't think that's a cheat code. I think he's still not a great athlete for his percentile, right? Like if you look at what he did versus other tackles who are his size, it's not pedestrian, but it's not such an outlier that it gets you excited to think what he can do if he loses a couple of pounds. Odds are if he gets to 320 pounds, he's a average to slightly below average athlete at the tackle position per his weight. I think what makes him special is that he has decent feet for a guy who's like 370 pounds when he was playing. But I don't think that turns into a great project for left tackle. And then also, like, again, he won a lot of his matchups in college with power. So making him lose weight, reduce power, is that going to make him better in the NFL? Probably not. I don't think it's a great idea. I hope that they don't go that direction. And even if they do get Kaden Proctor, I don't know if the goal should be we're going to make him lose weight and play left tackle. You want to convince me that Kaden Proctor could be a really good guard? I think you could do that, right? You want to convince me that you have a plan to make Kaden Proctor as valuable as a left tackle at guard because you're going to pull him a lot, kick him a lot? Sure. But if your plan is we're going to make him lose weight and then it's Siaki Ika all over again, right? It's let's turn a dump truck into a Lambo. But guess what? A dump truck with less weight, it's just a dump truck without the back on it, right? Like it's not really going to be a Ferrari. I got a bad taste in my mouth from that experiment, and I don't think Kaden Proctor's that different from what they tried to do with Siaki Ika. We're going to talk more about what we're hearing with the draft, but first I do have to thank my sponsor, PrizePicks. Hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a fun way to win cash while watching your favorite team. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. We're in the NBA playoffs. The Cavs and their series have gotten underway. We got some picks to share. So let's talk about those picks. Got Brandon Ingram, the Cavs holding him to under 20.5 points. Donovan Mitchell, I think he's going to slow down from his tear that he's had so far. So 27.5, we're taking underneath that. It's a lot of points. Evan Mobley, more than 16.5. I think Evan steps up today. Field goals made for James Harden over 6.5. RJ Barrett over 19 points. Scotty Barnes over 17.5 points. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at Quinn_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups to download the app using the link in the description. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Kaden Proctor rumors. Now, obviously, if Kaden gets drafted here, even though it wouldn't be my choice, I'm always going to give guys a chance to prove whether they could be helpful to the team or not. So you guys know, if you've watched my channel for any period of time, I'm okay with being wrong as long as it makes the team better. I have no problem with being wrong in general, but also if it makes the team better, I have absolutely no problem being wrong. So if I'm wrong on Kaden Proctor, he ends up being a great tackle. Awesome. Great. Love to be wrong there. But that's just my honest opinion of him, right? The Browns draft him. I will be hopeful that it can work out, but I'm going to be honest about what we're watching too. So there's that with Kaden Proctor. And as far as rumors go, it's actually quite quiet, right? We're hearing some news about Kaden Proctor. Some people are speculating Fano. I think the reality is any rumors you hear right now, I would disregard them. Not to say that they can't have any kind of inkling of truth in them, but the reality is the Browns are picking 6, which is much different than last year where they're picking 2nd. The Browns have a lot of variables in front of them that can happen before they select, which means they don't know what they're doing at pick 6 yet. So they can't leak it out. Think about it like this. The Browns had the number 2 pick of the draft last year, and even having the number 2 pick of the draft in a year where the number 1 pick was already known, there were enough variables to make what the Browns did at number 2 unpredictable. Number 6 is infinitely more unpredictable than number 2, right? Andrew Berry talks about this in his press conference when he talks about Mason Graham. He didn't think that he would end out of the draft with Carson Schlesinger and Mason Graham, but that's just how the board fell for him, right? How the board falls is going to matter. I don't think the Browns are going to say, hey, we're taking this guy at 6 no matter what. I think they're going to play the board, see where the board goes, see what kind of offers they get. I think they're open to doing a number of things today. I don't think they've made up their mind. It wouldn't make sense for the Browns to have made up their mind. So you're going to hear a lot of people acting like they know. They don't. Nobody knows. And it's not because people are bad at their jobs. It's not because draft experts are scammers or whatever people are going with now. There's plenty of draft experts who have an opinion on where things are going. And those opinions are based on a lot of information and a lot of really hard work. But the reality is, how can we know what the Browns are going to do? How can we leak what the Browns are going to do when the Browns haven't made that decision yet? We can report about who the Browns might like. Do they like Kaden Proctor? I think at a certain place, I think it makes sense for them to go with Kaden Proctor. It seems like they do like him, but are they for sure just going to take him at 6? I have more hesitation about that because realistically, they have not made the decision. That's what the 2 minutes on the clock are for, so you can make your decisions. And every team uses those 2 minutes to make decisions. They're not at the war room in the draft for fun. They're in the war room to make decisions, especially once they become on the board. So, just keep that in mind whenever you're hearing all these rumors and you're reacting to them and you hear something you don't like and you crash out. It doesn't have to be like that. But that's my thoughts so far. My last little rumor roundup before we get to the draft. Make sure you join me on the live stream today. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.